What's up, everyone? Welcome to the High Passion Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel K, and we're here with another great guest, Mello from Mello Media.
Hey, guys.
Mello is the founder of Mello Media, and she's here to tell us about their brand's mission of spreading cannabis education to the consumers. Let's get into it. Thanks for coming out. It's been a while chatting. Back in the day, we linked up at Tallgrass Festival when I was under a completely different name, and I mentioned that I was thinking of starting a podcast, and here we are finally. So thanks for coming out.
Of course.
Tell us a little bit about what you do at Mello Media.
Well, there's been two parts to Mello Media. I've always had a passion for media in general. Filming. I went to film school for a little bit.
Okay.
Didn't finish, but I went to film school. And I just really loved that, but I also really love cannabis. So
Okay.
I was like, let's do this.
Let's combine them together. Yeah.
So,
What are some of your goals as a media entity in the cannabis industry?
mostly education and really just bridging that gap and trying to provide marketing where marketing hasn't been allowed, because
Yeah.
I'm a third party. People don't have to worry about necessarily their brand advertising.
Absolutely.
I'm just talking to them so they can say what they want about their brand, and then they don't have to worry about that legality because it's me.
Because it's
not
you.
them.
Exactly. No, let's get into that a little bit. Like, the marketing in the cannabis industry is so difficult that things like what you're doing and what we're doing here, I believe are going to be the way that we can get more people's names out there and more education like you're trying to do. What are some of the ways people are allowed to market now?
I've seen some pretty creative things done, so I am appreciative that we've come very far in the last 2 years on how brands market. It's really this box, don't say this, but you can show the product, but you can't show the THC symbol.
Okay.
And it really depends on the product, though. If it's flour, you're not really able to show it except for in marketing materials that go into the store.
Got you.
It's really weird. And then when it comes to just wanting to, say you wanted to make a cannabis commercial,
Yeah.
you're not allowed to smoke on screen. You're not allowed to have that flower on screen. You're not allowed to do this and that and this and that.
Yeah.
It's okay, well, then you just take marketing out of the cannabis industry, which is so stupid.
Yeah. Well, how are they supposed to get their names out there, and how are they supposed to tell us about the products that they're trying to provide? With that being said, where did the idea for you to create this media company come from?
It was really mid-pandemic.
Yeah.
I was working at a cannabis shop, not a legal one.
Okay.
But we were all stuck inside, but we were stuck in this bubble because we were all working together.
Fair enough.
And I was working with some really creative people with some really great ideas, and I really wanted to get some of their names out there. And then I started going to sorry.
No worries.
I started going to cannabis events.
Okay.
And I saw this whole other world of people that, though, I felt like everyone needed to know, I thought my customers really needed to know that there was this whole world of you could go smell flower from jars and not just be in a dispensary. You could be at a market.
Yeah.
You could be where the artists are. You can talk to the grower. You can talk to the person that pressed that flower into a concentrate. You can actually see the process and the people behind all these different products that I had been selling through a store.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So now I wanted to pass that on to the consumer, but now we're getting more and more restrictions from the legal side.
For sure.
And I was kind of stuck in this box, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to start talking about weed.
Yeah, let's do something about it. Yeah, well, it's super beneficial. Obviously, in the legal side, I think it's hard for consumers because they can't actually see their flower. They can't actually see, other than the picture that was submitted to the OCS, that could be from how many batches
Oh
ago
my
possibly,
God,
you know, and I don't know whether that's a OCS problem or a problem on the producers. I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
It could just be the OCS is not updating it frequently enough. But for them to be able to come to these markets and like some of my favorite places, shout out Canacrawl doing it big. Like I said, we met for the first time at Tallgrass Festival.
R.I.P. Tallgrass.
Yes. I mean, they've done some good things.
Yeah.
And, you know, those markets for people to come out and see and feel the community behind cannabis rather than the corporate setting that, I mean, it feels like more in majority of dispensaries that I've been in myself. Just because the restrictions that they've set up, you know, cannabis used to be very social and friendly and check this out. Look at this. Like, look what my buddy grew. Yeah. Look at this guy's grow. Look at the different colors here. And like, now it's look at this picture, you know, and I could tell you what my experience was, but I can't
tell you what the experience of that bag is going to be because I'm not sure if that bag came from the same batch or if OCS just packed it all together and sent it to the store. You have no clue,
right? So it's such a good thing for consumers to be able to see that side of it, and it's awesome that you're shining an extra light on it. So currently you're working as a budtender?
I'm on and off the budtender circuit, to be quite honest. It's a high turnover kind of job to have.
Okay.
The shop I was working for almost 2 years shut down.
Oh.
And honestly, I think that goes kind of to your point previously of like pictures being changed. I think it's a whole thing in our industry of one person's getting a big amount of money and asking for a big amount of money from every other part of the industry, from the LPs to the retailers to the budtenders.
Yeah.
Like we all essentially have to pay into OCS.
Yeah.
At least in Ontario. And
like, even as a budtender.
Well, as a budtender, you don't necessarily like pay directly to OCS, but we're paying our time and resources to them in terms of we have to go on their website, search things, order things, all those things.
Yeah.
And then we also have to show up to these events so that we can learn, but we're not actually learning anything. Yeah.
And I'm like, who's paying for that?
Exactly. And it's the LPs. And then I start to hear, oh, this brand just ran out of money and this brand just ran out of money. And I'm like, because did you see where they threw their money?
Yeah.
And it wasn't in the right place. If they maybe spent more money on throwing it at taking new pictures every batch, getting a photographer that comes in regularly, takes pictures of their product, then they might get different kind of reviews.
Yeah.
But I know that they're thinking to themselves, the only person who's going on OCS to look at that is the budtender. Budtender doesn't care. Yeah. And it's like, we do and we don't, you know, because like, if I have to go through all these SKUs and I'm looking for the cheapest one for my store, I'm zeroing it in on this, you know?
Yeah.
I can't be searching through all those pictures and being like, that looks like a really good bud. By the time I look at that picture, it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah, there you go. And it's super overwhelming. And to me, it seems like, I mean, a lot is put on the budtenders, you know, and I know some budtenders that are being, I'm not going to say harassed, but bombarded daily from emails from representatives reaching out, trying to get them to get their product, trying to, you know, check this out, check that out. And then you have these events that it's super difficult to even get the education directly from the mouth of the company, you know, and you're there, they're there, but there's still this wall between you guys that, I mean, it hurts the consumer in the end of the day. Yeah. And it's super frustrating.
I appreciated, like, I've always tried to work for small business. I mean, outside of when I worked for illegal, that's not really small business, but I worked in a smaller retail shop before it closed, and it was nice because I get that more one-on-one customers.
Yeah.
But the reps that came in were also so nice, and I really appreciated those reps. But that occasionally I'd have a rep come in, and I knew that it was that kind of brand right off the bat because it was a rep that came in and was literally just like, have you heard of our product? And I'm like, do you know how big your brand is?
Yeah.
If I'm a budtender, then yes, I'm sorry. I've heard of your product.
Yeah.
Please don't give me that question. I like the one that comes in and is like mellow, you know? I like that rep.
Yeah.
And I like when I see that rep at an event, I'm way more likely to sell their product. But yeah, back to that event space is just, like you said, the reps sometimes are not in it for that. They've pulled reps from alcohol companies to sell weed, and they're a very certain kind of person. Not hating on that person, just saying that that's a different energy. You're coming with a Gucci energy. I'm feeling more like a Vans.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I'm sure, you know, there's the market for that. There definitely is, but when you're dealing with budtenders, majority of budtenders I know, in the end of the day, they're stoners, they're potheads. They love their cannabis, and they're pretty chill people that like the cannabis community. So when people come in with that corporate energy, you know, it's a big deterrent, you know, and we want to vibe. We want to smoke a joint. Like, let's go smoke a joint.
No,
why can't we do that with the reps? Like,
No, and honestly, not giving away any reps.
Yes.
And also, I wasn't meant to do this, but I live in a gray area, and honestly, I know that a lot of companies would be like, oh, what the fuck, you did that? I'm like, I'm a medical patient first.
yeah.
So I'm not just smoking so I can get high on the job. I'm smoking so I can still help my customers.
Exactly.
So that I'm not doubled over in the back room.
Literally.
I'm just trying to get through my life.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means I need to go for a smoke break.
Yeah.
And the reps, they're on the move. So sometimes if I'm going for a smoke break and a rep's on the way out the door, I'm like, all right, let's smoke this joint together.
100%.
Let's try it.
I feel like that should be allowed. Honestly, like these events, like the lifted markets and like the Canna Crawl and all of those, I mean, they're more legacy. But you can actually do that and smoke with the growers. I hope that gets brought in. I know I'm going to an event. I mean, it'll be past by the time this comes out, going this weekend to Skank and Base, and they're trying to, you know, do better. Shout out Ganja Glam. They're doing some big things, but it's a hard scene, you know. It's a new thing, and I can't wait till we can get more of it and clear up that blurred line of like, why can't the reps sit there and smoke a joint with you? You know, that just, it would make me trust the brand a lot more for sure. Like, you're actually consuming the product that you're representing rather than just, you know, smoking your own bag in the back.
Yeah, and that's another thing, right, is I want you to believe in your product. Like, whether it's edibles or flower, you can be honest with me and say, I'm not a smoker, but I love to pop edibles every once in a while, or I love to drink, like, infused drink every once in a while. Like, that's fine. Be honest. But if you're just like, oh, I'm not a consumer, what are you selling me?
That's
Get out of here.
How are you even going to tell me about your product? You've never tried it?
Yeah.
Like that, it's crazy to me.
Yeah, because like when you have an alcohol connoisseur come through into your bar or LCBO or any of those things, a brewery, they've done the tests.
Yeah.
They've done the taste tests, even if it's just sipping it. They get sent to these wineries to do all these things. I would love to see you guys send a budtender to the farms. And like, yes, there are farm tours, but it's on us as budtenders to seek these events and seek these opportunities. And then we have to take time off work to go to them. We have to schedule our lives around them.
Yeah.
And we're getting paid minimum wage, most of us, if you're not in a manager position or an owner position. And I feel sorry for the owners, honestly, because they're not making money either. But
no, it's super rough, and like they should do that. Where like when I worked for Lowe's a long time ago, different life, but we had representatives, and there was courses like this product. It was waterproofing for showers, Schluter product. They would, on a paid day, Lowe's would pay for us to go to their factory and learn about the product. Like, those are the type of things that need to be available. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that it's hard, especially for the small businesses, to foot that bill. Yeah. But there's got to be some middle ground. You know, the companies want you to sell their product. Maybe they should foot the bill. I don't know what the right move is, but we need to, you know, make that happen.
No, and I agree with that because, like, when I worked for an illegal business, I was getting paid better and I was getting sent to things like that. I was getting paid to do product knowledge after hours.
Yeah.
If I'm getting paid to do it, I'll do it.
No problem.
But I've kind of stopped going to these legal events because I'm like, I'm not getting paid for this time. I'm out here freezing my ass off most of the time just to stand in line and grab a pity sample.
Yeah.
And I'm not having the rep speak to me, really. And if I am having the rep speak to me, it's the same spiel I heard them come into store with last week.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I can't hear it again.
Yeah.
Give
And
me it.
listen, no fault on them. They have hundreds of people to see a day, especially at those events. So I'm sure it's just a spiel that they're spouting off. But like, it takes that community away from it, man. It makes it feel like, don't get me wrong, it is a business, but you know, takes the love out of the cannabis. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a balance.
Being a bud tender, what would you say the biggest misconception consumers have coming into the store would be?
The can I see it? No, you can't. And have you smoked this? There's like 10 plus products on this shelf in this category. It's either not my category or I don't have the money as a bud tender
Fair enough.
to go and buy all of these. And again, we'll get samples sometimes, but you're not getting them all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's something new that just came out and we saw it on OCS. We wanted to get it into the store, but I haven't gotten a chance to smoke it. Or it's a ounce bag.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Again, I'm not buying an ounce bag.
To try. Yeah.
Like, I can tell you what the reviews are. I can go on Reddit with you. I love to do that with my customers.
Yeah.
But outside of that, don't...
I could tell you possibly what another customer thinks if somebody has tried it, but again, you're working with a limited pool of knowledge.
Exactly.
No, that must be super frustrating because obviously you want to pop the jar open and show them the bud.
Yeah.
But you can't, you know?
I think another thing is also that getting to sell some of these products, we don't get all the information on them. Like, I recently got to meet the owner of a certain edible company.
Okay.
And their product is vegan, but she never really thought about that when she was creating it. She was like, it's a healthy alternative and it's a traditional Middle Eastern snack.
Got you.
And so she was like, this is a great product. It's a healthy product. It's great for those people that don't want super sugary kind of edibles.
Yeah.
But she didn't think it wasn't her first thought to put vegan on the thing or this and that. And I think that's something edible brands need to learn.
For sure.
Is that when we're selling to people, especially elderly people, they want to know what the sugar content is, or if it properly is vegan.
Yeah.
Or does it have like this and that in it?
Absolutely.
And I want to be able to tell them, but I'm having to go through these tiny little words on the back of the packaging.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Well, especially for things like that. And obviously the bigger brands, it's going to be easier for them to do it. Mm-hmm. But it'd be nice to like get an information pamphlet on the product if you want me to sell it or like something, you know, we got to do more because, you know, you want to sell their product. They want you to sell their product, but you're not giving me the tools to answer the customer's questions.
Yeah.
And how are they going to buy it if they can't get their answers, right?
Exactly.
Like you said, the product's vegan, but I can't say that. So now somebody who wanted to buy it isn't buying your product because I don't have all the information.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's super disappointing.
Yeah.
But, you know, such is life. If you could change one thing about how the cannabis is, I mean, displayed or marketed, what would be your pick?
Oh, honestly, I don't really have any necessarily critiques on how it's displayed or marketed because if you have the money to, you can put those sample jars in the middle of your displays that you press and get the scent out of it, like those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Again, the company, the store that you're working for has to have a lot of money to do that. I think, one, it's evening our playing field for the smaller businesses because we're really kicking out small business, and I'm sure that's the grand scheme of it, but that's not what I want to see, and I know that's not what most Canadians want to see.
I don't think we'll get the best product that way either.
Exactly. And then on top of that, I think I really just want to see us separate recreational from medical. I would love to see us have like a Shoppers Drug Mart version of a dispensary.
Interesting.
For medical patients, because right now the only way to get medical is online.
Yeah.
You have to order it. The delivery fee on that, oh my God, I cry. And I had a friend, her mom had cancer. She finally got the medical license to order.
Yeah.
She was looking at it. She was like, I can't afford this. You can't afford that. You can't afford that. If you're on disability, you can barely afford rent. You can barely afford to feed yourself.
Yeah.
But now you have to get your medication
through delivery.
You're paying $100 to order.
Yeah.
And then you're paying $50 to deliver. And now I've spent $150 on something that's going to last me 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
Yeah. So now you're incentivized basically just to go to a dispensary.
Exactly. And then they go to a recreational dispensary, to a new budtender who has been told upsell. And now they are upselling the person who wanted a low THC product, a high THC product.
Yeah. And
I've actually read that we have, since legalization, more situations of elderly people or anyone, they said anyone like 45 plus, have been getting hurt while using cannabis, like slips and falls, dizziness, because they're not being told about green outs. They're not being told how to handle a green out.
Yep.
And on top of that, they're
being given
the wrong product.
Yeah.
And I get so mad when I go into a dispensary and I'm like, can I get this? And I say what THC percentage I want. And they're automatically like, oh, but we just got this in. And I'm like,
I came here with a goal.
I literally just said to you what I need.
Yeah.
Don't try to upsell me because I'm a medical patient.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, like you said, that's where we do need to create that difference. And at least, like, I like the idea of like another medical store. Obviously, it'd be difficult, got to get it set up, but we got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Because that, not only that, just the consistency of the medical product, you want the same results. Yeah. You want the product to benefit you medicinally.
100%.
You're spending your money on it,
And I, as a budtender, I'm not allowed to even tell you about the medical benefits or anything like that. You need a nurse practitioner.
So question, actually, are you allowed to talk about how it helps you medically?
Yes.
Okay. It's a gray area.
It's a gray area. Yeah. So again, you have to change your language. You have to very much fit into this box.
Yeah, because you can't say this is the medicinal benefit.
Yeah.
But like something along the lines of, I used it and it helped me sleep one time type of thing. Like,
yeah, I had a customer come in one time and he was like, I have tinnitus, but I heard that this can help me with my tinnitus. And it was, I think, a CBD tincture.
Got you.
And I was like, oh, I haven't heard about that helping tinnitus, although I have tinnitus every once in a while, so that makes sense. And I have found that certain things help more than others. So I was like, let me do some research on that for you. Come back next week when I'm in, and we'll go through it together. And so I did that with him. He came back in, and he was like, you remember me? I was like, yes, okay, I remember. Let's do this. Yeah. So then I start going through it with him. But honestly, I'm not technically really allowed to do that. I'm not meant to do that, but I want to do that. I want to help the person who needs it most. Like if you're just in here to grab your joint, you'll grab your joint and leave anyways.
Fair.
But if you're coming here and you're asking me questions, I know that you have a reason.
Yeah, yeah. And then honestly, it sounds like you're the person we need working at these medical dispensaries.
I do try.
Yeah, we gotta set it up and get you working at one, because you can get that information to the people that need it. Like I said, it's super important they get consistent product and get products that actually help, and in the recreational side, we can't talk about it. So what the fuck?
Yep. Kind of trapped. And then the medical patients have to go online and figure shit out for themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like,
okay,
you left them alone. You really left them alone.
Exactly. And they're what started this.
Yeah.
That was the initial.
Me,
myself, I'm a medicinal patient, and that was what started all of this. That's why cannabis was used originally. Before legalization, we were allowed to consume it medicinally, and we've been left behind,
100%.
Speaking of bud, let's take a look at some of this. I've got the creamy runts and the Georgia pie that I grew here. I rolled us up some joints already, but we're actually able to look at it here, so check out the weed. I'm gonna start up this. I've got a salad of them both in here, and I think yours is just the Georgia pie there, like you requested.
Ooh, I love.
Yeah.
I love the like. As much as I've worked in the legal space and the legal space, I will always prefer homegrown. And like when we go to Canacrawl, Tallgrass, all these things, I love getting that cannabis, and I feel the difference. I don't know if you necessarily have like felt that, but it feels like a synthetic high when I'm smoking legal weed versus when I'm smoking this.
Interesting. My belief is that it usually has to do with the freshness of the product. As a farmer myself, I only smoke fresh cannabis. I personally feel it's better. And at these markets, you're getting more direct to the grower. There's a lot of these guys that try to harvest in time to make sure they have products on the tables at these markets. And, I don't know how we can avoid that on the OCS. There's so many processes in between harvest and it actually getting to the consumer that it becomes difficult. Things like farm to table or like farm gate, which they were trying at one point. I don't know where that's standing at the moment, but
we don't have enough of that in Ontario. The thing is other provinces have figured out how to push themselves forward. Like, I think it's Saskatchewan or Nova Scotia who does LP sells to the retailer. We don't need OCS in between to package these things and keep them in a warehouse. Why do we even need them to keep that in a warehouse for? Why can't I just order from the LP?
Company.
That would make so much more sense to me. Because then you have brand loyalty and you also have brand consistency.
Yeah, that's true too.
And in BC, they also have just started with the lounges, and that is where my dream is, because we need that here.
100%.
And I think that's another part to safe consumption for both medical and recreational patients. That way, if you're greening out, someone's like, that person's greening out, don't give them any more, just like a bartender would. And you're like, here's a bottle of water. We're going to talk you through this. We're going to give you some space, but we're going to make sure that you're okay,
Yeah.
I was in one of our legal lounges one time. Well, I say that with air quotes, but it's actually a legal lounge. But I was greening out. I was whole ass greening out. And I knew I was greening out. I was like, no, this is what's going on. I was like, why didn't I get this from one puff? Okay, I'm going. I was like, get me water, keep me cold.
Yeah.
The place was hot as hell. And this guy keep coming around. He came around 3 times with the device that had gotten me blasted.
Yeah.
And he was like, you want more? I'm like, do you see my head down on the table and my eyes bloodshot right now? Yeah, no, I don't want more. And I've turned it away 2 times already. Why do you keep coming back to me?
Yeah.
That's irresponsible.
Absolutely. That's crazy to hear, to be honest.
I was mad.
What was your introduction to cannabis?
I've had a couple different introductions to cannabis. I think we've said hi a couple different times before we actually started a relationship.
Nice. I like it.
Definitely high school, like most people, where I had a friend who was allowed to smoke. So she was like, hey, do you want to try it? I tried it. I really liked it, but I was never the bad kid.
Okay.
I broke some rules, but I never went beyond. And my mom's British, and in England, weed is closely associated with harder drugs.
Got
so
you.
I was like, no, I'm not a drug user. I'll never do anything but drink alcohol.
Yeah.
And then I got really tired of alcohol really quickly. So that was a no for me. But yeah, and then I even dated someone in high school that she was super against drugs. And I was like, yeah, I'll never do it. Never. we broke up and I knew I needed something medically. And I had a roommate who was like, hey, I'm going to smoke weed. Do you want to join me? And from there, it just became that social thing, but also the thing that helped me get through at the end of the day. Like, I was in pain and I dread getting through the night. But yeah, it helped.
Yeah.
Medical was what made me really like go, oh, hello.
Hello. Yeah. We are going to become friends.
Yeah.
That's good though. That's good to hear. Like, the interaction, the back and forth. I think that's a healthy introduction to cannabis. You know, a lot of people either dip their toes and step away for a long period of time, or they dip their toes and go full force. You know, but realizing that it helped you medically is a huge thing, and you know, building that relationship is great.
Yeah.
So now, obviously, you know, you're smoking right now. What's your relationship with cannabis like now?
It's good. I've definitely had my times where I know I'm going too hard. So
Yeah.
I recently had that over this past summer. I was going through a bit of a time and I was like, I'm just going to smoke my feelings away. And now I'm like, no, you're okay. You can step back. You can calm yourself down. You only need, like, I know for myself, I only need, when I first wake up, maybe once or twice in the middle of the day, once before I eat, once before bed.
Yeah.
But I can take out that middle part in the day and I can just do the 3 times a day, you know? Like, there's times where I'm working so hard that I forget until I'm like, why am I in so much pain? And then I'm like, oh shit, I haven't smoked. So usually like 3 points in the day. If I got really like fucked up on that last one before dinner, then I'm not gonna have that one before
The
bed,
one before
because I'm
bed.
just gonna
Call it.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
exactly.
So those times you're consuming, generally speaking, you're talking about your medical consumption right now. You're not talking about hanging out with friends and just smoking a joint.
Yeah, I think it's both medical and social for me.
Okay.
My roommate right now has also been my best friend from high school. So we kind of got into smoking daily together. And so if I'm awake before she's heading to work, or like we're heading to work at the same time, I'll be like, hey, you want to smoke a bowl before we leave?
Yes.
And that's medical for both of us, actually, because of, on her side, it's anxiety. But for me, it's also anxiety, but it's the preparing to push my body.
Got you.
And so I think it's nice to have those check-in points where we smoke together. You know, we're literally holding our bongs, just chatting away for an hour, and then we're like, okay, bowl.
Yeah.
Take a break, bowl, cough out your lungs, and then go, okay, yeah, and continue the conversation.
Yes, that's amazing. So, you mentioned a few times now that you know, you're using cannabis to treat the pain that you're in. Do you mind talking a little bit about what you're using the cannabis medicinally for?
Yeah, well, I come with a couple, I'm kind of a mixed bag of disability. And I think I'm kind of getting more comfortable with my disability and being disabled, because I have an invisible disability, and a lot of people wouldn't even think of it as such. I guess my first disability from when I was young is I have BPD, borderline personality disorder.
Oh, wow.
And then that kind of makes my highs high and my lows low. Cannabis has really helped even me out with that and get more introspective and be like, okay, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling that? How can I get through that? Like, cannabis has really helped me do that.
Yeah.
And then the main part for me, the physical pain, is I have endometriosis, and it is 4 generations deep for me. My grandma, my mom, my aunt, and my cousin all have endometriosis, and most women in my family have not kept their womb past the age of like 35.
That's
like how severe it is. The more kids you have, the sooner you are going to lose your womb.
Oh, wow.
And it's, yeah, for me, I just got a really shit case of it. Like, my mom's a very push through kind of person, and I've seen her in tears over this, you know.
Yeah.
She has a very high tolerance of pain, but growing up, I saw that pain and I was like, wow, I hope that never happens to me. But then I started developing all these things very young. They thought it was IBS, but it was really like I have like intestinal issues, and that's the endometriosis. And I think the best way people with endometriosis describe this is that your organs are sticking together. So there's like the lining that we have around our organs is now overgrowing and not constantly shedding like it should be.
Okay.
So it's starting to stick things together and wrap around things and constrict. So yeah. So it's like someone's hand is constantly like, you know, when you're watching those movies and someone's a ghost and someone sticks their hand through them and then they're like moving their hand around.
Oh, no.
That's how I feel sometimes.
Wow.
And it's kind of just kept progressing to this, like, now it's on my nerve and it's wrapping around my nerves and my sciatic nerve. So sometimes I start to get a little numb from the waist down. So people might have, whoever has seen me recently has noticed that I either sometimes have my cane on me or I'm walking with a limp.
Yeah.
And I'm not being a pimp. It's literally like my knees are a little wobbly these days. Yeah. So it just,
Well, I mean, you have a very positive attitude about it. I mean, I'm happy for you to come and talk about it. I have a friend that has endometriosis as well, and it was the first time I heard or learned about it. And when you mentioned it, I just wanted to make sure that we brought it up on the podcast because I think it's good to get it out there and raise awareness around it. You know, it's not many people know about it. So, you know, good for you for fighting that fight. And I'm glad that cannabis helps you with the pain a little bit, at least.
Yeah, there's actually just a quick statistic on it is that 7 in 10 women have endometriosis.
Wow.
And they don't realize because the median time that it takes for you to get diagnosed from the time that you first go to a doctor exhibiting symptoms is 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you have to have a surgery in order for them to properly diagnose you with it.
Really?
Yeah, so even though I knew I had it and my symptoms were getting worse and I kept being like, just give me the surgery, just give me the surgery. They were like, no, we're not sure you have that. So they had me go through test after test. And I was like, hello, guys, I have it and all my family has it.
Yeah,
I have it.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
So it is genetic?
It hasn't been proven to be genetic. There's no cure. There's no reason for it. There's so little known about it except for the fact that what it does, what it's doing.
Yeah.
And that it's a full body thing. A lot of people think that it's just your uterus, but it's a full body disease. It can take over everything.
Wow. I didn't know that actually. So that's you know, again, good to learn. Like I'm glad you're here talking about it and letting people know what's up. You know, it's a very good thing to do. And like I said already, glad cannabis has helped you manage the pain a little bit.
Oh yes. Yeah. I feel really good right now.
That's good. That's good. On the note of cannabis helping you with the pain, you mentioned that you turned down a prescription from doctors.
Yeah, and they actually get mad at me about this every time I go to the hospital. They're like, oh, you know, and this was a thing before I properly got diagnosed with endometriosis, before they did the surgery and could write it down on paper and say I had it, was I always went to the hospital and they'd be like, do you use any drugs or alcohol? I'm like, I don't drink and I don't do drugs.
Yeah.
I do smoke cannabis medically. Oh, you just have, I forget what it's called.
CHS.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Constantly. And
wow.
I'm like, no, I don't. I know that it's a real thing. I know that people can have it. But I promise you, I'm not smoking to the point where I'm like getting to that point.
Yeah.
And I even had to quit smoking for 2 weeks just so I could go back to the hospital and be like, no, I haven't smoked in 2 weeks.
And I'm still
in pain. I'm still like, I can't eat. They were like, oh, okay, here's some morphine. Go home. And then, yeah, recently I collapsed while I was out shopping. My legs, I started to feel it, like the sweats come on, and I'm like, okay, I need to get outside. I need to sit down. I need to do something. I literally said to my roommate, I was like, okay, I'm going outside to sit down.
Yeah.
Took 2 steps forward, and then I was like, no, get me to a corner because I'm not okay. So then I'm sitting on the ground, and the staff has to come around, put me in a wheelchair, take me off to the side, and then call an ambulance.
Wow.
The ambulance shows up. They're like, you want morphine? I'm like, honestly, it just makes me feel like a floating head. Doesn't do anything for the pain. I don't want it.
Yeah.
No, thanks. Okay. Fentanyl?
Oh, nice.
Everyone in the room, my roommate and the staff from the store I was in, they were like, I was like, no.
Yeah, that's a hard one. It's got such a bad image. You know, it works so well medically, and paramedics use it very well when it's used properly.
Yeah.
But obviously, being in Toronto, when you hear fentanyl and the images flash through your mind, you know, we stay away from that.
Yeah. I personally, I just try to stay away from anything that I don't need to put in my body. You know, cannabis has really helped me like try and cleanse my body in a way.
Absolutely.
And I know that sounds really hippie shit, but I really do believe in it. And
listen, if it works for you, it works for you. You know, like look what you're going through without all of these extra drugs and stuff. Like it only speaks more to, I mean, your strength and to how much cannabis can be effective. Yeah. Because it's replacing those things. And don't get me wrong, inhaling smoke in general is not healthy for us. We know that.
Yeah, I'm
But
trying.
I think that's probably better than popping morphine.
Yeah. No,
right?
100%.
Like it has to be. The morphine's got to be bad for your body.
Yeah, and the long-term effects of all the drugs that they've tried to prescribe me is way worse than the side effects that you will ever see from cannabis.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't make any sense for you to come to me and say, well, you know, you haven't tried enough things.
Literally.
And it's like, no, I've tried everything you guys gave me minus the fentanyl. But that time they gave me a morphine prescription, I took 1 pill. I didn't take any more after that because I was literally walking around like a floating head. Like I couldn't feel my body. I was like,
not for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And listen, I mean, that's great that you were able to turn that.
But then you gotta think like someone that could have an addiction.
It's
going to be harder for them. They're going to second guess themselves to say no because they want to say yes so bad.
Yes.
You're providing sometimes that door that doesn't.
Or you could be the one introducing them to it as well. Like I think that, especially if something like cannabis is an option, why not have them try it? You know, it is a medical thing, and it's there, and it can help pain. So why not recommend that to the patients before going to the morphine? Not saying that some people don't need the morphine.
Yeah, no.
But why can't we take the easier approach first and then go to the extreme if we have to?
Yeah.
You know? So, but yeah, fuck. That's a crazy story though.
Yeah, I've had quite a few instances. Like I collapsed at a station one time, took the ambulance 6 hours to show up. Oh, no, 3 hours to show up. Sorry. It was 6 p.m. when they finally showed up. I collapsed at the station at 3. I was meant to be at work by like 3:34. Called my boss.
Like
I was
subway station?
Yeah. I was like, I'm on the floor of Spadina. I can't come in.
Not gonna make it. Not gonna make it.
And the ambulance didn't even actually show up for me. It showed up for a fight that had broken out on the opposite platform. For like there was a Maple Leafs game, and I guess there was a brawl. So
they were just there, and you were lucky.
Yeah, yeah. And the staff literally, the TTC staff literally went over there like, "Are you here for the girl?" They're like, "What girl?"
Oh my god.
He brought them over. He brought the firefighters over to me, and they were like, "How long have you been here?" I was like, "What time is it?"
Yeah, literally. That's crazy.
So, yeah.
Nice. What's next for Mellow Media?
Kind of changing gears. Over this last year, I kind of took a step back. The old Instagram got hacked, so I started a new one, but I also was taking a step back for myself because I was pushing myself to go to all these events and be a budtender and all these things.
For sure.
So I just, I'm kind of trying to change Mellow Media into not just cannabis. I want to show the medical side. I want to show how it can help, where it can help. There's so many great stories from that side. So many people I've heard are started medically, or they realize how it helped them with different things. And
Absolutely.
so I really do appreciate that side of it. And I want to show more of that side.
Yeah, I think that's a really good angle to take too. And it's something that needs to get out there more. And it's something different, you know? So that's, I like it. And you're right at the center of it yourself. So it only makes sense. Yeah. It's a good direction. Any events coming up you're going to be at?
Yes, Cannacrawl, as always.
Yeah.
I love Cannacrawl. Hamilton, you know.
December 14th?
December 14th.
Yes.
It's
Cannacrawl.
a Saturday always.
Yes.
And Hamilton, if you can make it, it's always a great time. Rena and Anthony are amazing people.
Absolutely.
They always keep the vibes good. I've only ever heard of a fight issue happening once, and I only heard about it. I didn't even see it because
probably didn't happen.
It just
probably didn't happen. Yeah, no, there's such good people. I was at the last event. We were shooting this shit. We're gonna get them on for an episode soon. I know I told you that, Anthony. We'll make it happen. But yeah, man, I can't wait. I'll be there. I'll see you there. It's gonna be a vibe.
Yeah, we'll spark up a joint as always.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm super happy you came out and super happy that we got to do this.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, thank you so much. To everyone watching, if you enjoy what we're doing, make sure to like, follow, and share on YouTube at High Passion Pod and on Instagram and Spotify at High Passion Podcast. If you want to keep up with our guest today, drop her a follow on Instagram at Mellow Media Canna or check out our YouTube at Mellow Media CA. I want to give a shout out to my boy Nick. He made this painting here, going to be the background for the podcast for the next bit. He's done some dope work. He doesn't even have social media, but that's my boy. Shout out. You know who you are. I want to give a huge shout out to Sean Sweeney at Sean CS10 for everything you do for the podcast and making this all happen. And to all our viewers, I hope you tune in next time. And until then, stay positive and stay passionate.